Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we have another 10 list for you. This time it is 10 games that we disagree on.
Yes, this is one that was voted on by our Patreon supporters. We put out a poll. They decided on this particular topic. So we have come together and looked at all our games in our collections, also other games that we've played. And we've come up with a list of about 10 games that we disagree on. Something that maybe I like that she doesn't like, or vice versa.
Yes, it is specifically games that one of us might really enjoy and the other one dislikes. Maybe games that have been veering on the edge of leaving our collection for a few years now.
Yep.
And so today, this is a true 10 list. We are presenting 5 games each with one honorable mention. So I guess without further ado, we just get started.
Sure,
right?
let's do it.
So our combined honorable mention is a card game that is designed by Bruce Glasgow in 2017 and published by WizKids. And this is an honorable mention because we've mentioned it before in a few of our videos.
A couple times. People know this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it is Fantasy Realms. So Fantasy Realms, if you're not familiar with it, is a card game. And it's basically a filler type where you are drawing cards and you're trying to curate a hand of cards where everything synergizes well with each other. So you'll have a lot of different types of factions. You'll have weather, with beasts.
Landscapes or something like that.
There's no landscapes.
Something like that, yeah.
And so
Terrain.
each card will have some sort of a rule. Like you're going to score 10 points if you combine it with, the flood or something like that.
Each card has a base value on it, and then there's flavor text which enhance the end game value if you can synergize it with the other cards in your hand.
Right.
For me, this game becomes very frustrating because a lot of times I'll start with like 3 or 4 of my 7 cards that I have, and I really like them, and I'm trying to make them work, but then I find contradictory cards start coming into my hand, and then now I'm just kind of like, I don't know which way to go.
That's the whole game.
I know. That I guess that stress of it just doesn't excite me, I guess, something like that.
Granted, this is a filler game. Like,
Yes.
you play this game in like 10, 15
It's quick.
minutes, and we played it recently, actually. Starting on turn 1, Naveen immediately was like, well, here we go again. I don't know what to do. So anyway, that is the heart and soul
Yeah.
of Fantasy Realms, and that is why, all the reasons why Naveen dislikes it is why I really enjoy it. I think it's fun.
That's
and
fair.
it's such a quick experience.
That is fair.
So anyway, that is our honorable mention, and that's a kind of a fun one that we like to bring up because of how much Naveen gets frustrated when we play that game. Okay, so moving on to our number 10. This is one of the earliest games that I fell in love with when we first started getting into the hobby, and it's actually no longer in our collection because of somebody. But it is a card game that was designed by 2 different designers, Robert Doherty as well as Darwin Castle, in 2014, and it's published by a company that is now called Wise Wizard Games. They used to be called White Wizard Games. And it is called Star Realms.
Star Realms, yes.
The space opera.
I could not win this game at all against Monique. It's a deck building game.
Yes.
It's a space battle deck building game.
Yeah, it's not a space opera. I'm
Yeah, it's
just
not a space
joking.
opera, no.
For me, I went from Dominion and then I experienced Star Realms, which is such a fast deck builder. You are basically just trying to battle each other, dueling. It's like a dueling space game where you're trying to just get your opponent's health to 0. You start
Right.
with like 50 health, and then
Right.
over time, you're attacking each other with your ships and your everything that's in the deck.
Yeah, you're setting
Which I
yourself
don't
up for defense.
remember as
Yeah.
much anymore now that it's been gone for so long.
You had like a bunch of expansion packs. I don't know. For me, early in the hobby, I was not a fan of deck building. As I've now gotten deeper and deeper into the hobby, I appreciate deck building more. So this is a game that I'd be willing to try again and see exactly how I do. Because before, I would always be the guy that's like, why would I get rid of this one point or one card? Because it gives me 1 coin that I could then
One
use.
coin.
I know.
He wants to keep the 1 coin cards.
I know they
That
clogged
was-
up. I knew also at the time that they clogged up space in my hand.
Yeah.
But what if I needed a coin? you
Yeah.
know?
So you've grown a lot since
I have
then.
grown and I'm willing to try it again.
But if you watch any of our videos that has deck building in it, where we talk about how Naveen is not a big fan of deck building, it is because of this game.
Yeah.
Right?
It
Did you
is,
say
yeah.
so?
Star Realms, yeah.
Star Realms.
I would
But
lose 50 out of 50 times to Monique. So
it is a game that I really, really enjoy. I still enjoy it. I had it on the app and I would play it on there. It's just really addicting. Just cycling through your deck and knocking out those health points, right? But anyway, that is our number 10, Star Realms.
Okay, moving on. Our number 9, this is a fully cooperative card game. It is designed by 2 different designers, Fabian Riffaud and Juan Rodriguez, and it's published by Cool Mini or Not. And this is The Grizzled. The Grizzled is a fully cooperative card game, like I said, which takes place in the era of World War One, I believe, and your goal is to basically survive the war. So it has kind of this interesting artwork and kind of a bleak and weird theme to it, because if you lose, it means I think you technically died.
It's so depressing.
It is a little depressing there.
It's so depressing.
But the way you play is there is a set of, I guess, like triggers that can end your round. And we all have cards that encompass different components of those triggers that could end the round. And if you don't work cooperatively together in the right sequence, you can lose. And so
As a team, you're basically trying to play out your entire hand.
yes.
And on these cards are these different symbols. And so if you play several, I forgot how many
I
now.
think three. If you
Three
play
of the same symbol,
Yes.
then you lose the round.
Yes.
And all of the cards that you played go back in the deck that you're trying to deplete, because
Yes.
essentially you're trying to play out this entire stack of cards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to before the time runs out, then you win.
Then you win, yeah.
And
If not, you lose
You
in
lose
war.
the war.
You know what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not the biggest fan of it. I will play it, and I'll still have an okay time. It's just, there's also a lot of serendipity that's required in this, or a lot of luck, right?
Yeah, but then
Like-
you have those moments where like you have those different tokens that can allow you to kind of mitigate some of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely not all luck based. You can definitely, there's a lot of strategy to it.
You're working together, you're talking it through as a group.
You're talking it through. You can't tell each other obviously what cards you have in your hand, and there are these things called hard knocks that make it even harder for you to win.
Yes. Uh-huh.
They curse you essentially. So it's just, that was just okay.
Yeah. I think my favorite player count is 3.
Yeah.
So
It's extremely difficult.
It is
like
hard.
when that game first came out, everybody was like, "This you can't win this game."
you can win.
So-
it's possible. So that is our number 9, the Grizzled.
All right, moving on to number 8. And so this is a heavier strategy game designed by 2 designers, and they are Nuno Bizarro Sentiero and Paulo Soledad. And they designed this in 2015, published by What's Your Game, and it is called Nippon. So Nippon is a well-loved game. Naveen loves it.
I do. I like that one a lot.
It kind of it fell flat for me. So if you're not familiar with Nippon, it is a game, I believe you are
Industrialists,
in Japan.
economic industrialists in Japan.
Yes.
And you it starts as a economic game, but there's a huge area control element of it on the different
Yeah.
islands of Japan.
That's right. That's right.
And if you're not into the area control part of it, you're kind of out of the game.
yeah.
And it's deceptive in that way. When you read the rule book and you get into it the first time, if you're not focused on that area control part, you can find yourself way, way behind in that game.
Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of area control in general.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a game that I really, really thought I was supposed to love. Like, these 2 designers designed Panamax, which is a game that I really enjoy, as well as Madeira, which is also one that is heavier, crunchy, but I really enjoyed that one as well. This game is very different because it does rely so much on that. I wasn't also, I don't know, the whole presentation of the game also maybe kind of made it fall flat. And everybody has a player board, and if I remember correctly, there's also like a train track. There are a lot of different tracks on your board.
You're moving like coal up a track. And you have to manage all your resources and things like that.
Yeah, and so that one just kind of fell flat. It's still in our collection, I believe.
It is, yep.
I every now and then try to return to the topic of culling that one.
I think you have to try it one more time. I think
Yeah,
it's one
this
more
is a
time.
conversation that we have every time.
One more time.
But he's right. I definitely agree. I'm going to try it one more time before we decide whether or not to cull it.
Yeah,
But
I think we're in that category of people that if we try it twice and we realize after the second time we don't like it, then okay, you officially don't like it.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So that one lives to see another day for now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is our number 8, Nippon.
Okay, moving on. Our number 7. This is a game that we've actually played and featured on our channel. We'll leave a link over here. It's a little embarrassing because it's very early in our YouTube channel, so the quality isn't the best. But it's Bora Bora. It's designed by Stefan Feld and published by Alea and Ravensburger. And this is a game where you are doing quite a bit of things. It's kind of a hodgepodge of mechanisms. You are drafting tiles. You are trying to set collect, area control over different areas of the islands of Bora Bora. And it's just a big point salad game. And Monique is not a fan of it. I am a fan of it, but I don't know why exactly you don't like it.
It's an earlier Stefan Feld design.
Earlier, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually forgot that we featured this on our channel. And I think I've discussed this in our review of it back in the day. This might have been like the second video
Might have
ever
been the second or third video,
our second playthrough ever we made. But the 2-player game was fine. It was the multiplayer. So the way that you play this game is it's dice selection. It's dice placement.
Dice placement, yes.
Because you have your own set of 3 dice, you
Right.
roll them, and then you have actions in front of you, and you place your die on the action to take it. But there is a restriction of when you can place the die. I believe you can only place dice that are
Equal
of
to
lower.
or lower?
I think it's of lower value
That's right.
than the lowest die that was placed.
Right.
And so if I am going third in the 3-player game and the first player puts a 1, right, on one of the actions, that I just
done.
that's it. Can't
Yep.
take it
I
that
know,
round. And I
yeah.
think it's like 6 rounds.
Yeah.
So it was really frustrating. That might be my least favorite Feld, maybe.
Maybe, okay. Yeah.
But that one still survived our
It's still in
collection.
the
for some.
collection, yeah.
It survived the call.
It's there.
The multiple calls.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the stress of it. I do think at 4 players, that is definitely a little bit more stressful. They add more action tiles with player count to try to mitigate that. I could see the frustration there, but for some reason, for me, it's kind of like Fantasy Realms, where it's like, I don't mind it. I like that restrictive nature of it.
The first time we played it ever was a 4-player game, and I think I just got shut out a little bit too much and had to take like the fishing action, which nobody takes.
Yeah, this is gain 1 point, right?
Yeah, 2 points or
Yeah.
something. I think the reason why we keep it around is so that Naveen can bring it to conventions and play it with other people.
With other people, yeah.
So we do have a collection of games that are in that territory.
Yep, exactly.
And that one's definitely there.
So that was our number 7, Bora Bora.
So number 6 is also a game that we first came across when we first started getting into the hobby. And it is an abstract strategy game. We have the travel version. It's designed by John Yanni and published by Gen 42 Games as well as Asmodee, I believe, in 2000. And it's called Hive.
Yes,
So-
Hive.
Hive is like, it is definitely an abstract strategy game. There
It
are
is.
tiles, and the tiles have different bugs on them. That's why it's called Hive. Or that's not,
Insects
sorry,
on
that's
them,
part of
yeah.
the reason why it's called Hive.
Yep.
And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to completely encircle your opponent's
Queen.
Queen bee,
Queen bee,
I
yeah.
believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since we played it. The different insects move in different ways, and they're supposed to be thematically tied to the type of insect.
Yeah, it's kind of like they move like in a chess pattern, like where pawns only move 1. You know, something else moves. You know, the rooks move a certain way. But in this game, these are all different hex pieces, and they kind of rotate and move around the board. It's not even a board; it's actually just a collection of tiles.
Yes,
but they all
it's
move
really-
amongst each other in different manners. And so this is a game that Monique likes.
I love
This is the one that I'm not a big fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of abstract strategy games, and for some reason, I don't know, it's not that exciting for me.
Naveen has tried to call this game numerous times.
I have, yeah.
But we can't justify getting rid of it. It's so small. You know,
It
we
is,
have the
yeah.
travel edition. It comes in a little pouch, and I bring it with us whenever we travel, just for the hopes that Naveen would say yes. Because it's so easy to get into. You just pull out your tiles and you're ready to go.
Yeah, you set it up and then you just start taking moves.
Yeah, and it's so cute. I think it's adorable, and it's just so, I don't know, I think it's really fun. I really like the thematic integration with the different types of insects and how they move. And you can teach it to anybody. Doesn't take up that much space.
I think I struggle with thinking like 3 steps ahead in that game.
Yeah,
like I'm
maybe.
only just like looking down at one moment and then being like, well, okay, I'm just gonna move
Move
this
my
around.
ant.
Yeah, move the sand here, and then okay, oh, looks like I'm done.
That is our number 6, and it is called Hive. We are halfway there.
Halfway there, yes. Our number 5. This is one that'll probably be a little controversial. This is designed by Gord with an exclamation point, and it is published by Roxley Games. This is Santorini. Santorini is a game that I'm not a big fan of for some reason.
I know, why not?
It's weird. It's like the rule set is good. There's variable player powers, which is cool. But for some reason, when I'm in it, it's just not that exciting. Again, like I keep going back to that.
If you're not familiar with Santorini, this is another abstract strategy game, but it has such an interesting theme. You are building buildings in Greece.
In Greece, yeah.
Right, in Santorini. And it's very, very simple in rule set. You each have, if you're playing as 2 players, you each have two pawns or workers. And on your turn, you move and build.
Yep.
And you do that the whole way through. If at any time you can't do those 2 moves, then you lose the game.
Right.
There's a little bit more to it. Like there are different levels of buildings, and by the end of the game, you'll have a beautiful board and layout.
It does look nice.
Yeah, and
Very
then
nice.
each player also has a different god power. You know, it's just so you can have some kind of asymmetry. And I think that it's mechanically very sound. It's very tactical. It is definitely chess-like,
Yes.
right?
I agree with that. Like the components are great. The rule set is simple and easy to teach, easy to learn, and the actual mechanics are solid. But for some reason, it just when I put the sum of all the parts together, for me, the experience is not exactly what I would want out of it for some reason.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But this is another one that whenever we go to our collection to see what we're gonna call, Naveen always pulls it out and says, "Monique, what's happening with this one? What are we planning on doing with this one?" And I'm always like, "Put it back.
Give it to somebody who would really enjoy it.
I would really enjoy it, Naveen."
It's gay. You can play it with other people, just like I can play Bora Bora. With
Yes,
others.
that's true. It is definitely a part of that collection as well.
And that is our number 5, Santorini.
All right, so moving on to number 4. This is another controversial one, and it is a party game of sorts designed by Vlada Chvátil, which you probably already know what it is, in 2015, published by CGE, and it is called Codenames. So before we talk about who likes and dislikes this game, if you do not know what Codenames is, it is a hugely popular game. You should probably try it if you've never heard of it before. And it is a game where you're split up into 2 groups.
2 teams.
2 teams, and one person per team is the code master or the game master, and they're essentially trying to get their team to try to guess which cards belong to them in a grid of cards.
On these cards, there's just one word or one. Is it one word or just?
It depends on the type of codename game you're playing. There's standard codenames has words, then there's codenames pictures that has like abstract images, and there's codenames duet. There's a lot of different iterations of codenames. But there's one word typically.
One word on the cards.
And the code masters, they each have a map that tells you which cards belong to them. So that's Codenames in
a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Sure.
And so this is a game that you really enjoy.
I do like this one a lot, yeah.
And I don't. I don't like this. And to be fair, we're speaking specifically of the original Codenames.
Base Codenames.
Because I actually really like the Codenames Pictures edition as well as Codenames Duet. But the reason why is because, typically when you play a game of Codenames, you're usually in a group setting because everybody wants to play and you can play as many people as you'd like. And so it's usually like 3-on-3 or even higher player count. Sometimes it's like 6-on-6.
Oh, that's too much.
And, by the time it gets to your turn, you're waiting and you're excited for when it gets to your turn so you can guess your word. And a lot of times, because it's so hard to be the code master, they'll give like balloons too. And it's like, okay, well, that's clown, that's an obvious one. And that's party. Okay, press them both. And then your turn is over in 10 seconds. You have to wait again.
So you want speed code names?
I just prefer, if we're going to play a game in that kind of setting, a game where more people can be as equally involved.
Okay.
I guess.
Do you feel shut out sometimes?
I don't feel shut out, but I feel more inclined when I'm in a group setting like that. I'm more inclined to let other people who are a lot more excited about it to take the reins, and I'll just like, if they need my opinion, then I'll be here eating and giving my opinion. Typically.
But Codenames Pictures, you're okay with?
Codenames Pictures I like because it's not as obvious a lot of the times.
The art is extremely abstract.
Very abstract.
And typically the art will have multiple elements on them that make it super abstract. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
Really requires the team to put their heads together and think like, oh gosh, what do they mean by that?
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think the game is good. Like I think that this is a very well designed game, and I appreciate that so many people love it. I just don't find joy when I play it.
That's fair.
So that is number 4, Codenames. I apologize to everybody who really, really loves this game. All
right, our number 3 game that we disagree with. This is a game designed by Don Eskridge and published by Indie Boards and Cards. This is The Resistance. This is another social deduction game. It's kind of like hidden roles, and you are basically going on missions and either helping the missions succeed, sabotaging them, or doing some sort of combination if you're trying to hide who exactly you are. For some reason, this game does not excite me. I know I keep saying it, but whenever we're in a group setting, 8 people or something, it just, I don't know. There's those moments where people are left out, and it's like, well, we never heard of what Tom is.
But you like Codenames?
I like Codenames because everybody can just speak at once, but sometimes people don't get sent on a mission. It's like I have nothing to say about this person, but about Tom.
So yeah, this is a game that I really enjoy. It's one of the more popular social deduction games that came out during an era when a lot of social deduction games were coming out. Right, One Night Ultimate Werewolf was big, and then the Resistance Avalon. And the Resistance has a lot of different expansions. So we're talking specifically about the Resistance Avalon because that is a copy that we have and the one that I really, really enjoy. It's just exciting. It's so bare bones social deduction.
It is,
right?
yeah.
You're split up into 2 teams. You have however many number of rounds. Now I don't remember.
It might be 5.
And you're trying to a certain number of wins, a majority of wins for your side. The Resistance Avalon also has expansions where if you play as specific characters, you can lose but still enact your power to win if you are able to call out whoever the other people are.
Right.
I don't know. That probably doesn't make any sense. But just know that there are roles, and depending on which role you play, you can do a certain thing,
Right.
which I think is cool. I don't know. That is a game that I really enjoy. Would you still play it though?
I would play it, yeah.
Yeah?
I
Would you have a good time?
I don't know. So that is our number 3. That is Avalon / The Resistance.
Okay, so we are coming up on our last 2. And so these might be slightly more controversial because they're a little bit more popular. But our number 2 game that we disagree on is a game that we're speaking specifically about the 2nd edition that was designed by Nikki Valens in 2016, published by Fantasy Flight Games. And this is Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. So I've never played the original Mansions of Madness.
Right.
I believe that's
Same.
designed by a different designer. But we both played the 2nd edition. The first time I ever played it, and if you're not familiar with this game, it is a kind of like a mystery where you're in a house.
You're exploring
in a
this mansion. Yeah.
Yeah. And the 2nd edition is app-based. So it has a lot of different scenarios. So you go through a scenario, you pick the scenario in the app, and then it'll tell you what chits to put out in the house. And
You're basically exploring the mansion, finding monsters,
trying to solve the mystery.
solving mysteries. Yeah.
And battling monsters. The first time I ever played it, I was like mind blown. I thought, this is awesome. It's like a big story, and you're working together to try to figure this out, and you're trying to defeat these monsters. You don't know if you're going to escape, and I just think it's really fun because there's a lot to explore and a lot to discover. And so that day I came home and I told Naveen, this is an amazing game. You should play it. And then I brought him back to play it, and
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't that good for me. I've only played it one time, so I am always willing to play a game a second time. I felt like it dragged for a while, and there was a lot of like,
It can.
I roll this dice to beat that thing? No, I can't. And then it just like, okay, we got to go back and try to defeat this monster. And so there's a bunch of different things. Plus, there's a lot of text to read. Sometimes for me, in games, like when you have to read just a bunch of text, it bogs me down for some reason. Like I just want more snappy turns.
I think that's the bulk of it.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a game that's narrative based, and I think like Chronicles of Crime and Time Stories, which are both games that we considered to be on this list, but Naveen decided that he likes them both.
I do like both of those
Those
games,
are borderline situations too, because they require a lot of reading. So I think that is one of the big reasons why you weren't into it. That and the length. Sometimes these games can go long.
Yeah, that one dragged for some reason, Mansions of Madness, and I don't know. I'm willing to play it a second time though.
I don't know if you are.
I am willing to play it
It
one
was
more
a
time.
sad day. We finished the game and I was like, Naveen, wasn't that great?
Like, yeah.
And he was like, it was
Okay.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is our number 2 game, Mansions of Madness 2nd edition.
All right, so this is our last one, our number 1. This is one that I think we both agree on is the number 1 game that we disagree on.
Maybe.
Maybe, but this is a game that's designed by 2 different designers. It's published by Lookout Games. It's designed by Virginio Gigli and Simone Luciani, and this is Grand Austria Hotel.
I know. I'm
Monique
sorry.
is not a fan of Grand Austria Hotel, even though there might be a new reprint coming out,
We're
which
gonna
we actually know
offend
about.
a lot of people.
I know, yeah. So this one is a game in which you are running this hotel. You're trying to entice customers by feeding them their favorite desserts and drinks, and then trying to find a room for them to stay in. That's
Yeah.
essentially what you're trying to do.
That's so funny.
So you
Wow.
entice them with your strudel, and you send them to the red room
So that they can take a nap.
so they can take a nap.
after their
Exactly.
meal. Siesta.
This one is a dice drafting game. And I think the reason why you don't like it is the way the dice drafting happens. It happens in a snake fashion. So if you're playing in a 4-player game and you go first, well, you're going 8th now. For me, the player count that is the best is only 2 players, because the snake fashion, if you're going first, you're going 4th. Then your actions are a little bit smoother. In a larger player count, it can take a long time. I don't think I would ever play it at 4.
Oh yeah, that's something I didn't even consider. It can take a long time. So the actual game itself and the theme and the individual mechanics are fun. But yeah, gosh, the dice selection is so restrictive.
It
and
can be, yeah.
And then some of the cards are like, well, because of Naveen's turn order, he's now able to get this fantastic guest
That just showed up.
card that just showed up. And I think there are also, if I'm remembering correctly, there are also cards that give you abilities that you start the game with. And that's just kind of randomly.
Yeah.
And I guess you could draft them. Maybe you have to draft them. I'm not remembering that now. But I just remember that you also have a hand of cards that give you special abilities if you're able to put them into play.
Right. I can't remember if there's like a certain starting deck of those starting ability cards or if it's just all one big stack. And so
I think it's all big.
I think just one big stack, right? Yeah.
if I
So
remember
I think when we last played it, we said there should be starting ones, and then from there, at that point, you can get better, more souped up ones over the course of the game.
Now I know that there is a dice mitigation aspect to it, where you can skip your turn, and then if it comes around to you at the end, you can get whatever's left, and you can choose to re-roll by removing a die.
Right.
But that re-rolling is still it's still like that
That's
luck.
a luck chance, yeah.
That luck chance for taking actions is not something that I enjoy in games. Specifically.
It's kind of like your thing with Bora Bora.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to that, yeah.
Yeah, I am okay with luck. I appreciate luck. Like Castles of Burgundy has dice, and depending on that, it determines what type of actions you take as well. But it's not completely action selection. Like being completely shut out of a really important action that I needed to take that round just because I wasn't able to take that die.
Yeah.
To me, is a little bit rough. And for the length of the game, I think that's also a big part of it.
Yeah.
That is Grand Austria Hotel.
Our number one.
Our number one that we disagree on. Let us know in the comments down below which games that you disagree on with any of your friends, or if you agree or disagree with the choices that we made. Please let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts on each and every one of these games.
And as usual, thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. And also thank you to our Patreon supporters who voted on this topic. We had a lot of fun coming up with this list.
Yeah.
And we look forward to doing more videos in the future.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.